Bree decides to start charging $200 an hour for that fucking blowjob. But the girl next door is $100.
You're so misogynistic. Does your wife really love you, or is this your third or fourth marriage? I'm sorry.
Been married once, but you can keep fucking trying. So I know.
Keep fucking trying with you.
What did Jesus say?
You're so misogynistic.
You said a minute ago insecurity. At least you admit you're insecure, and I love it.
Oh, I never said I'm insecure.
You are. You
baby, this is one woman that doesn't give a fuck about what you think.
So the
Dude,
best part about
this is one person that
you literally just said you go into a attack.
No, you just said something about me.
This is the
No, when you're saying something about me, I'm responding. See, you're not that smart.
No,
because if you say something about somebody, expect them to respond, right?
You don't say a fucking word. You don't let somebody finish. I was going to try to tell you that China fucking tears us first. They started tearing
I heard that 3 times already.
Yep. You can't fucking do that. You just said
No, I already heard that, and I said you can do sanctions, you can do whatever, you can put people on entity lists, but what you can't do is I don't think the tariffs are something that is healthy. Go ahead. I'm sorry to continue to talk, James.
No, I was just curious. China put tariffs on us first, so you don't think retaliation tariffs are a good thing?
I don't think retaliation tariffs are a good thing. They create an inefficiency, and even though there's the Taft-Hartley tariff that happened in 1920. The American economy, whether there's a direct causal relationship remains to be debated, but that dipped us into the Great Recession along with the stock market crash and then the retaliatory tariffs during that time period. So you got to be careful in the balance of the economy. When you have a devaluing dollar and you have tariffs hitting back and forth, and then you have a very volatile way that you don't know, you have declining employment and other risks that are out there. You don't want to tip whatever the situation is, our economy into a recession or depression, right?
Yeah.
Another question. Yeah, China. Well, let me respond to the China question. Like I said, it is not efficient to hit tariffs because in the end, our citizens as a democracy pay. Now, I don't know what China does to its citizens. I don't think they even give, no, actually I do know. They don't give their citizen choices as elaborate as we do. So when our citizens go to the market and they go to Walmart or they go to Target or they go to any other consumer retail store that has had a bargain price, right? When you get tariffs, it hits them. So that $12,000 that William was willing to pay at one point, our average American citizen can't pay that. And that's what we have to be reflective on.
No, I understand where you're coming from that, but I've got another question for you. So you understand that if China produces a lot of stuff that we need, manufactures a lot of stuff that we need, right? And if they ever went to attack Taiwan, we would be at war with China. How would that impact our manufactured needs at that point?
Name what we automatically have to get from China. We have
a lot of our medication.
But we cannot. I'm just saying what.
A lot of our medication that we get from China.
We can get our medications also from Netherlands and Europe, right?
Yeah,
well, that's the point. That Netherlands and Europe, they're also giving up their manufacturing to China.
But that's why I said to you, okay, but Hanson, that's where I said to you, you can't pick a fight with everybody because when we do these worldwide tariffs, we're picking. See, the logic doesn't make sense. We're picking on 139 countries. But yet, I'm just throwing that number out there. I think it's significantly less, but it's still high up there. We're picking on random countries, but see, all they have to do is pick on one United States. Yeah. So the odds of what we're putting in the damage is greater on us than the other way around.
Not necessarily. Just because the number of countries. If there are a number of countries, the size economy is much less than the U.S.
But it would depend.
So I'm saying that the evidence is using the premises, the number of countries. That's not the relevant quantity here. It's the size of the economy.
And the size of the economy. True, yes. But then that means the United States, being as large as we are, shouldn't have to pick on the small ones. But when we're the small ones, if they're the United States is not largely their export partner. But when you begin to raise tariffs in countries that they're not, United States is not their number one partner, you're creating friction that doesn't exist. So when the United States went and said, "Oh, I'm going to now do Vietnam, and I'm now going to do Malaysia," a lot of the trading partners weren't necessarily the United States. They had large partnerships and trades with China. You are now causing a friction where, United States citizens, where we had essential goods coming from Vietnam or Malaysia or even Singapore, now have to consider, let me see if I can find another outlet for my product that now the United States has become very unfriendly towards me. The trade agreement that we negotiated about a year ago or 3 years ago, even when someone had brought up in our argument the USMC, which is former NAFTA, right? We negotiated that. Trump actually negotiated that in his first term. Now he blew up those terms and those conditions in those trade agreements. So by putting tariffs, you're now not only causing harm to our word as a country, because we're inconsistent with our trade agreements, because that's what it is. It's an agreement. Now we're now going to levy tariffs against you. Shows that you're inconsistent and I can't trust you. So it's best to find reliable partners. And the one thing that the market doesn't like is uncertainty. So people begin to move they don't want to bank their money against the U.S. dollar. They start looking at gold reserves, and the petrodollar becomes weak.
So the premise is wrong because the previous premise is that if we're on the same playing field and people can make their choices, the thing is we are the most open market by far.
Combat Zionism, the final stages of Zionism
in the world, and China is not the open market. And precisely where we have the trade friction with China is precisely
late stage
Zionism.
Zionism.
On the you talk about the trade deals, and they renege on the biggest trade deal, WTO, and it's renege on with China, with America, and with Europe, and everybody, and then also Europeans are also reneging on their trade deals, because they're erecting the trade barriers. And so we're just pointing out this deficiency, to say the least, if not renegation on the trade deals on their part. And we're just saying, well, here's the medicine. You brew it for yourself. Take a sip of your own medicine and see what it tastes like. And if you don't do that, then we're going to renege just the same. And either you break the trade deal with us, or you mend your own behavior. And that's the purpose of this can say friction or whatever. It's because they erected the barrier and they broke the treaty.
Operation Combat Zionism. Late stage Zionism. Part of the New World Order, tradecraft. NAFTA.
This is like game theoretic.
Benjamin Netanyahu 2060-55 Cyborg Edition.
Free trade agreement.
Okay, I disagree. First of all, when you said that U.S. is the most open market, it depends on how we define open. If we look at open in terms of zero, one moment.
Tariffs.
Then Singapore has 0 to no tariffs. It's extremely low in its regulatory barriers. Then you have Switzerland. I'm just union. Ireland has low tariffs. Ireland has low tariffs.
It's just like an abortion.
Right? They're part of the EU, not England, not the United Kingdom. I'm talking Ireland.
As a whole, like Germany,
I'm considered a late stage abortion in the Democrat community.
Because they didn't Brexit, right?
Late stage.
Ireland is a small country.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is openness can be defined, and United States
I'm not
oftentimes
Jewish.
is not ranked as the largest in openness. But nevertheless, going back to the original argument on if they did it first, therefore we're doing it retaliation. When you have an agreement, they did not break the agreement. It wasn't until and I'm not saying who's right and wrong.
First thing is the agreements were unbalanced in the first place.
Okay, so now you're going to revise it and say it was unbalanced. Okay.
Not only higher tariffs, but also they had the non-tariff trade barriers, left and right, the obvious covert and overt trade barriers.
But we have sanctions, right? And we're driving all the Wassenaar and all these other countries to comply with U.S. So we have sanctions. So just because they have trade barriers, we can put sanctions up against them, like we do with Iran. So we still use certain tools.
So you want to hurt the people in foreign
It's not kosher.
countries?
I'm just saying.
$1,200 a person.
It's not kosher.
Sanctions are brutal.
Shema Yisrael
Well,
Adonai
tariffs are
Eloheinu
not friendly
Adonai
either, and it can be
Echad.
brutal to those
Rebbeinu
countries that are
Shalom.
by and large.
Actually, tariff is more. First of all, we don't.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Covert and overt
Rebbeinu Shalom.
policies, and this is probably the.
There are followers of the
only
Rebbe who
open,
say
tools we
Rebbeinu
have
Shalom is extremely useful. Rebbeinu
whether
Shalom.
it's foe or friends behavior.
We
They
have
say
other
it's good
tools
for the
besides
blood
tariffs.
pressure.
It's basically economic statecraft, right?
I can say that for 15 minutes. But
Greater Israel.
Sanctions of terrorists.
No, what I say is I leverage. If I
We're
am
listening
dealing
to
with
a
a
San
harsh
Francisco
country,
State
and I told
University
you this
law
already,
professor and
I said
Google
I
employee
would leverage sanctions.
talking nonstop for hours.
Financial
Everybody's
sanctions
given
or
up
armed
over the
sanctions
past couple
that
hours.
we
She's
put an
undefeated.
embargo. That's what we've done for years with Cuba.
She's
I'm just
got
being real.
incredible
That's what we did with
resiliency and
Cuba.
spirit.
That's what we did with Venezuela. That's what we do with North Korea. That's what we do. Tariffs are again a tax to our citizens. I'm going to be consistent. It's a tax to our
Your
consumers.
love for me burns deep. How deep? Prove it.
And EU.
You know what we've done with China? We put a lot of the companies that we feel that are bad actors or entities that act in a certain way, we put them on an entity list in the United States. Facts. So an entity list tells us that we are not going to do business. It doesn't mean, or we limit your business, or we limit what you're able to export into our country. If we also have problems with a certain entity, we have countervailances tax or anti-dumping laws. So that if we feel that someone is undermining our ability to, or importing stuff that we feel is an unfair or imbalanced trade, we will hit them with countervailance or anti-dumping laws, so that they don't dump and put our businesses out of, our companies out of business. No, it's very
Boycott
different.
and divest
Anti-dumping
the
and tariffs
Zionists.
very different.
Never.
Because it's also industry specific, and it stops people and companies from dumping and putting U.S. companies out of business. And it's targeting tariffs.
Benjamin Netanyahu, 2065 Cyborg Edition.
So did we still
There's
get
a lot of
some steel
importers.
coming in when we did that, or does it prevent all of the products from coming in?
We have-
lower back,
Actually, we have
pain
anti-dumping
free.
laws for U.S.
Yeah,
steel,
and what I'm saying
so
is,
that
does that stop
Canadian steel
all
or
of
China
the
steel.
products from coming in?
Power of the
Does it
sun.
prevent
Rebbeinu
all
It doesn't
Shalom.
prevent.
Rebbeinu Shalom. Get your tickets for your local Purim Chabad festival soon. Rebbeinu
It's
Shalom.
not a tariff.
You're missing the
You may have
point.
missed the early board special, but it's never too late.
You see the
Rebbeinu
difference.
Shalom.
Now, anti-dumping
Favored nation
hits the
status,
companies.
which is the only other
Anti-dumping.
incentive we have. You're not even smart enough to be making your own argument.
I know, I'm actually very smart to make that.
Somebody's
I don't need your validation. You're the one without the degrees, and you're the one. I don't care. I don't need your worry.
Dumping or the sanction on a particular company applies.
Counterbalance. I said counterbalance.
If one company or two companies does the bad.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
The thing is, what if the whole country has a policy of doing the same for all companies? What are you going to do? Of course, you can do, well, all your companies, yes, we can do the 301, the sanctions on every company. But how is that different from a tariff?
It is different because, again, it's specific to an industry and
Yes,
it's
I
specific,
understand, but I'm just saying that
and it's different from a tariff because the difference.
Sanction
There are followers of the rebel who say Rabbanu Shalom is extremely useful to say Rabbanu
100,000
Shalom.
companies in this industry all doing the same thing because they're under the same policy of the government, and doing the same thing. It's a uniform same thing. Of course, you can apply the 301
Countervailance.
to all
Countervailance.
companies. How's that different from this sanctioning the whole industry?
Because it is very different. Because again, when you sanction a company, it impacts the company that is the bad actor. But when you do a tariff, it does not tariff the country. The country is upset about it. But in the end, when you have a price markup, let's say I do I charge $1,000 for an iPhone. What you're looking at is that it's the consumers that are importing that the importer that is now John Schmo. Let me finish. John Schmo. Cell phone has to now import a whole bunch of boxes. I said that's the difference. I did say that's the difference. No, I'm not. Dude, and I said the difference is that the consumer pays. Are you a dumbass? The consumer pays versus the company. The company is
There are followers of the Rebbe who say Rabbanu Shalom is extremely useful to say 1,000 times a day Rabbanu Shalom.
Sale price can raise its price. So it can do both ways.
Rabbanu Shalom, Rabbanu Shalom. It's a Jewish mantra. You just repeat it over and over again. So when you hear people like this who can't stop talking, it's a mantra. So, you don't have to sit there and think all the time. You can just say Rabbanu Shalom. Rabbanu Shalom, Rabbanu Shalom, Rabbanu Shalom.
The same thing. Are you going to pinpoint every company of this industry, or are you going to sanction the whole industry? What's the difference?
Well, in the 301 section, to be very clear, so I can make sure that everybody understands, that's an industry specific, right? So it authorizes the president to adjust the imports, right? So when you're talking about that, and that's basically reciprocal tariffs that apply to fentanyl or anything that is dangerous that comes into the country to prevent the importing of it. See, that's different than the blanket tariffs that were applied to a country, right?
I'm
not, and then
Hello?
I never said.
Let's say if we.
It is different because there's the IEEPA tariffs.
Answer my question. Let me restate my question. So let's say we focus on one industry before we focus on the whole country, and on one industry. So the one option is to apply a tariff, or whatever you say, to the whole industry of this country, and the other one is using Section 301 to apply to every company of this industry. And what is the difference?
There's actually a big difference because I think you're misunderstanding the 301 section. When you're doing a specific country, because you're penalizing them, tariffs will not necessarily be the best solution. You might as well block them if you don't want to do business with them, or you're trade agreement with them, right? To limit what they're allowed to import into the country. So no. So when you're doing a tariff specific, the intent of a tariff is to either penalize that industry, which is the case of the Section 301 tariffs, which deals with the product like the fentanyl, which is encouraging. I believe the blanket tariffs, like I said, and I'm not changing or deviating, is a hazard to our citizens. That is it. Now, if you're trying to protect an industry, I did answer the question. So you guys don't like that. Now you don't like that. Because you're not smart enough to read the answer to understand the thing on and a blanket tariff. So you don't know the What's the 301?
same uniform.
This is an Iranian flute. I think it's called the duduk or something. Duduk. I don't know. It's very hard to play. It's basically like a vibration flute. It's pretty dope.
Pinpoint companies and
Sikhizney.
And when we have determined that every company in this industry is doing the same harm to the U.S., one option is a blanket apply individual penalty for every company in this industry. So what's the difference?
Well, there's a difference. This is where I wanted to make sure you're clear. I said the blanket tariffs. I'm going to go back because there is a difference. The blanket tariffs, which are the IEEPAs, which is what Trump did on Tariff Liberation Day, right? That is not okay. But the difference between the sanctions that I would do in place would be for national security reasons. If an industry is causing a harm, which is similar to a Section 301, it's actually Section 232, where there is a national security threat. So if fentanyl is coming across the border, or our lumber industry is in peril, or steel is in peril, then the tariffs are justifiable only in that term because you're trying, or you lose countervailance or anti-dumping laws to prevent that. But that is a choice for tariffs at that point, which is Section 322. That's the difference, right? The difference is A, national security reasons,
Very hard to play.
or the authority, which is 301 for unfair practices. That is very limiting and is not going to benefit because, again, that's where you target a specific country. That's the difference. No, I wouldn't do a blanket. The difference is a blanket tariffs.
Unfair practice and one sanctions on all companies.
Okay, sanctions don't levy a financial penalty per se to the importer, right? The sanctions. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's the best way to say it.
So actually, if that's the difference, then the tariff is better because tariff have a dated, gradual penalty. We don't have to raise this to 100%, either 0 or 100%. We can, because you're
Never had one lesson.
you have a panel.
Home run!
National security, and then they still want to do this. If you raise the price and all that, then we can do that. So this is a much flexible tool than the sanction.
I don't think so because again, there's 3 different types of tariffs. 4 actually. You have the IEEPA, which is similar to like the sanctions. That was what, and that's the tariffs. That was the blanket one that Trump was doing. That is not good. I don't see that because again. Well, hold on.
The sanction is either 0, no penalty whatsoever, and 100% no business deal whatsoever, and then the tariff can go from 0% to 2%, 65, 100%, 200% until no business is done. So we have a gradation all the way. So it's much more flexible than that binary.
I can agree with you that it can be more flexible. The problem is that the current implementation by which was taken was not flexible. You had a minimum. You did not have a minimum tariff at Tariff Liberation Day nor on the existing tariffs until recently, where all the tariffs were administered at least above 25%. You can always take it off. Sanctions can always remove.
Completely cutting off the trade.
arbitrary and it creates distrust. Because when you begin to have a gradient and a variation of tariffs, and it may be on a different product or wherever it is, country of origin of XYZ country.
Show's over.
Consistent and you don't have an
What are you
agreement.
still doing here? Show's over.
Trade deals individual.
No, what I'm saying is, that's why I'm arguing for trade deals.
Got my tefillin in for the day. Skipped it yesterday. Did it at midnight. Ribono Shalom.
If you have a trade deal, you are
When was the last time you put on
an
tefillin?
agreement that is binding.
Today?
Enforced,
Ribono
right?
Shalom.
But when you have a tariff, that's not necessarily a trade
Yes,
deal.
and the
Trump
tariff is
went
the
back.
leverage to get the trade.
Yeah, but Trump went back and changed his tariffs to France 3 or 4 times. Trump changed his tariffs to China 3 or 6 times. I think you're missing the point. Trump went back and changed his tariffs to China several
But you can be
times.
arbitrary in a trade deal. How can you be arbitrary in a trade deal but not a treaty? And how can you not see
You're not.
the treaty
You
as
did
the
not understand. I said you can be
incentive?
arbitrary in a tariff. I didn't say a trade deal.
But you can decide. You can also be arbitrary in a sanction as
You
well.
said that you could be arbitrary in a trade deal earlier.
No, you missed. No, I said in a trade deal, which is a tariff agreement. I said you have consistency. It is enforced. That is the problem. Is that Trump then introduced, and not just Trump, other people did it arbitrary. Like I'm going to now raise a tariff. Under what condition? What is your justification? Now are you pissed off with me because I didn't vote at the UN Security Council a certain way? Or I'm now going to support X, Y, and Z, and I'm now going to support this. Now I'm going to raise your tariff 50%?
So is your opposition to tariffs because of the motive or the incentive?
No, the inconsistency of it being applying.
Can you let
I'm
me
against
ask the
tariffs
question?
because
Can you let
it's a
me
tax.
ask the question first?
Yeah, I said I'm against tariffs again, and I don't have to
finish the
spell it out to
question.
you, William,
Can you
unless
let me
you want me
finish
to.
the
D'accord,
question?
c'est avec toi
Can you
alors.
let
Est-ce que
me
vous êtes vraiment
finish
bête?
the
On
question?
continue de
Or
dire
you
les
just
choses comme
wanna let
ça.
somebody
Vous êtes
finish the
vachement comme
question?
les
Can
malades et
you
comme
let
les
me
bêtes.
finish the question?
No,
It's a very simple question.
I told you
No,
over and over
you
again.
won't even
I
let
told
me
you
finish
over and
the
over again.
question.
It's a tax
You
to
don't
our
even know what the
consumers.
question
And our
is.
people do not need to have arbitrary costs rolled on down to them. It's a tax to our consumers and our citizens. And they don't need to pay arbitrary. That is why I'm against tariffs. And until you get into your head, William, you just don't like my answer. William, you just don't like my answer. I still feel like a tax. It's a tax to our citizens. And that is it. I do not care what you think. It does not change the Supreme Court decision. It's still a problem. The tariffs are still a problem when it's not applied in a certain way. It's still a problem. William, until you can get to the news, a tariff is still a problem. A tariff is only good when you do it as a Section 301, a 232, or a 1. Okay. William, you're not very bright. Understand what a tariff is?
That's my projection alert, Val. She just said you're not very bright, William. That's her projection. Hello?
Actually, no, I'm not, dear.
This woman works at Google and is a law
Oh,
professor.
I'm sorry.
Hello?
What do you do for a living?
She can't even have a conversation. Hello?
What do you do for a living?
Ribono Shalom. They are followers of the Rebbe.
What do you
Who said Ribono Shalom is extremely useful, Ribono Shalom.
You could just be quiet long enough to let me finish the question. Which is, are you
Ooh.
against the tariffs because of the motivation that somebody uses to
Ribono
apply them? Or are you against the
Shalom.
tariffs
Ribono
because
Shalom.
they are incentive
Yeah.
to get a
All
trade
right.
deal?
We're going to the
They're
planet
not really
Dune.
get a trade deal, to be very
I'm a
transparent.
spice merchant.
If they were, then there would be trade deals in place.
Its
that are
surface
not
is
bad, but
barren.
They're not. They were.
Its
illusions
true
of the
strength
They were not bad.
hidden.
So I'm against tariffs because, again, you asked me the
Its
question.
foreboding
I brought it up.
desert conceals
I'm
the
against
power to
tariffs
fold
because it is
space.
a taxation to our citizens or any of the.
To slow time. To send the mind. where the body cannot go. It is the source of the ultimate power. It is the deadly battleground where a young leader will emerge to command an army of 6 million warriors against the tyrannical force that threatens to enslave the universe. It is the clash for the greatest prize of all, the planet called Dune. A world beyond your experience, beyond your imagination. The motion picture event you've been waiting for.
Instead of using it to punish countries for what the world considers to be bad behavior because you're more comfortable calling it a sanction, isn't that kind of like overblowing the word sanction?
No.
Should we reserve that for countries like
really.
Iran
Not
and
really.
Cuba? No, we should just call it a sanction, right? So let me ask you a follow-up question. So you said why you're against tariffs. So had the tariffs led to trade deals when you claim they didn't, but let's say they had led to trade deals, would that have been a proper incentive to use if it resulted in a trade deal?
No, I said no because in the end, the tariffs rose its cost to the consumers.
Okay.
Wait, what? In the end, it raises the price on consumers. Is that what you said?
Yes.
So basically, your reason for against it is because it raises its tax on the consumer, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
And Hanson, real quick, I do agree with the fact that they can adjust the price upstream, right when they have the deal with the seller at the very beginning. But that is rarely done, and it's not done because it cuts into the margin oftentimes of what a tariff is not necessarily always planned. It can be impulsive, it can be whatever the situation is, and that is what causes the margins for companies to fall because they don't have the budget that they usually do.
Still survive, they'll do it. So there's no reason that they couldn't do it. And then also your previous reason for being against tariff is because of tax. But the thing is, sanctions is also a tax. So you should be against sanctions as well. Right? I don't know. Do you agree?
Previously, she made the argument it's not taxing the same people, it's taxing the foreigners, not the American citizens. Was her previous
argument?
Thing
is that's the same thing, right? I mean,
I know. She got really silent, so I was telling you what her answer was before. We're just repeating pattern.
Yeah, I understand, but I want to point out the logical contradiction in that her argument. If she's using that, then I mean, sanction basically is infinite percent tariff, and so that will also definitely it will be even more cutting to the tax the consumer even more because so sanction is basically infinite percent tariff, and then tariff any tariff as a final percent will be better than the infinite percent.
I don't agree, again, because the tariffs is paid, like I said. I do believe, like I said, you can have a sanction, and it can also affect or ban a company that you don't think is doing good business, or it can also impact and influence a country to have a positive behavior. The tariffs, though, in the end, when you roll out a tariff, and I will continue to uphold this, it ends up impacting adversely the consumer in the importing country.
So
that's
Hanson or William, can I ask a question? Hanson or William, can I answer this? What affects the price of products in America? Okay, and so the prices in these
than infinity. So.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily the case, because when you sanction a company because of behavior that you do, it doesn't.
Company. Why,
or a country. You can sanction a company and a country. You can.
We sanction a company?
You can sanction a company. They're on an entity list. That's what they call sanction. You have a sanctions list of entities. You can look it up. So when you do that, there's still unlimited amount of other choices out there. So eggs, you don't always have to get eggs at one source. So what I'm saying is that I understand your argument, Ice, makes sense. However, because of the diversity of the market, it is not a blanket from, let's say, we're cheese that comes from France or whatever the selection of cheese. It's not everything, absolutely everything that is coming in that's been selected that comes into from France that we're now going to do an increase at 40%. Right? It's not, and the cheese is not. It's not applied equally. Or what I'm saying is that there's an issue there, and you have other choices, but it hurts those consumers that when you have a tariff at 40% for France on their cheese, they're now going to pay a 40% augmented price.
Well, the same argument applies.
Eat American cheese.
Yeah, I mean the same argument applies.
Go ahead, William.
When the supply of cheese goes away, you can seek other sources of cheese. The same argument applies. And then the sanction is basically the infinity percent. The consumer pays the price even higher than the 40% tariff.
I still disagree, but I apologize. It's now at 1:30 my time. I've got to get to bed. I disagree. I disagree because it's not
have we ever sanctioned a country but a company but not a country?
Hold on.
Have we ever sanctioned a company but not a country?
Yeah. You can sanction. We didn't sanction fully China, but we sanctioned Huawei.
Tell us a company we've sanctioned.
What I'm saying is we didn't sanction China, but we sanctioned Huawei.
Okay.
Right?
So whether it's industry A, right? Industry A or company A, it doesn't matter. So sanction is basically no trade whatsoever. This is equivalent to applying infinity percent tariff. And then we call tariff is we put 40% tariff. How does the 40% tariff is a higher tax on the consumer than the infinity percent tariff on the consumer?
Repeat your question.
Cheese is
I said,
number one producer of cheese in the world.
Cheese company.
We're number one producer of cheese in the world, so we can produce.
Just confine this question, right? Cheese company, the French cheese company, one particular French cheese company, we can apply a sanction on this French cheese company. And then the other option is 40% tariff on this French cheese company. How does the
who cooked the cheese?
Is worse than applying sanction, which is infinity percent tariff on this cheese company? How is it
I'm going to go back to our original argument. Very good question. Your original argument was that if they had bad actors, right, that acted adversely to the national security or other concerns of the country, of our country, then your goal is to either have punitive measures. So that means you punish them either with the sanctions, but doing a tariff, again, because you're directly punishing the company versus punishing our consumers that may have the augmented price.
The company is...
I gave you the response. You may not like it.
Sure,
that is my response. But I have to go. It's 11:30. It's 1:30 my time. Sorry, I've got to get to work in the morning. It's 1:30 my.
Why would anyone want to interact with her?
She's escaping. I mean, guys, don't. I'm trying to back her into a corner. Don't mess it up.
Yeah, you have way more patience than the rest of us.
Yeah, but the thing is,
your time didn't even go up. It's like, damn, dude, you were the best.
Yeah, William. hold on. Let me finish. Because I want to. How you back someone to corner? You set up a question that is very clear cut, and then it makes no sense. Stand all the exits and see how your opponent wiggle and squirm. But that takes a little bit of time. So please, because but she I think she's already beating the heat, so that's why she is good.
Yeah, I know. I do the same. Ice does the same. We had backed her into corners, multiple corners all night long before you came in, right? So, but
yeah, because
she just wanted to show.
Yeah, because if you're not setting up this cage and leave all the exit open, and then your opponent can squeeze through and in and out and then out. There's no way. It's like what do you call it? Hitting whack-a-mole. Yes, whack-a-mole. We need to playing the close all the exit and slowly squeeze in.
Yeah, so that's what my point earlier. I mean, we were talking. She goes, "Well, we can't manufacture." And I think as William was trying to explain how many trillions, and the reason this is what I love is when they say, "Show me proof, show me." You literally had leaders of countries standing there saying, "We're going to do this." Now it takes time. What they don't understand is you got to get permitting, licensing. You got to buy land. You got the infrastructure to put in. It takes time to get this done. They think this stuff happens overnight, right? Number one. Number two, they're also very aware that in America, everybody, and I loved this earlier when Truth and everybody was trying to argue, I'll bet you money that it flips at the halfway point. Every president it does. It's only not done it like twice. So it's like, are we really hedging our bets on that? And all it takes is Trump to do one thing that really surprises people, opens people up, shocks people, something in the right moment, maybe exposes something, and then people are like, okay, I like it. The political...
Shutting down the cartels in Mexico, freeing Iran, and a GDP that's at 6,
right,
and a CPI that's at 2.
So
that might work.
William, I don't know if you were on before when I said that we had a discussion, and I said, listen, if they were complaining about when he had said something about going after the cartels in Mexico, and I said, listen, this woman, if she's smart, she has to come out and say, you can't do that. But meanwhile, she gets on the phone and says, let's do this. But I have to publicly be against you or they'll kill me in 2 seconds.
Of course.
Yes. So she clearly did exactly what I said and said, help us. Give us the intelligence. That way it doesn't necessarily look like you're involved, which we shouldn't have even exposed that we were. We shouldn't have even said that we had intelligence to give it to them. We should have just let them have the glory. But, they can't do that. We got to open our mouths over here.
Yeah, well, it's Trump. Come on. You think Trump would do that?
Right, exactly. It should have been silenced. But here's the deal. They make one mistake and kill an American. You remember what he said last time? They killed an American family in a van, if I remember right. And they gave the cartel like 48 hours to hand somebody over who did it. And they did. They handed over like 2 or 3 guys because they were like, we don't want these guys coming across the border. And they knew Trump would. And trust me, if they do harm somebody down there ain't going to be an ask. It will be Trump. And clearly, right now, I guarantee you, and before, drones are flying over. They're tracking people just like they knew where Maduro was, just like they knew where Bin Laden was. They monitor these guys. They know what clothes they're wearing. Like, they literally rebuilt the house, that Maduro was in the training. This stuff is crazy, the intelligence that they got. And
for sure,
it's going to be quick. And so now, but the only thing is we also got to remember that side of the aisle, they literally were out in the street protesting no kings, no dictators. And then we took out a dictator and they said, release the dictator so he can go back and dictate the people who were celebrating that he was no longer dictator. And it was limited in Venezuela, but those people came out and said, why? Their families were here down in Miami. It was like a World Cup event, man. They were partying, celebrating, literally. The Colombians that I know very closely want America to go in and get rid of the guy that's in there because the cartels are now or the guerrillas are taking root again.
Well, they were celebrating too because the amount of Venezuelans that are in Colombia, Peru, even in Chile, all 3 of those countries were secretly like, yes, because they have a huge problem with Venezuelans migrating to their country and causing all kinds of issues that we would link to our illegal immigration.
Right. And the one thing I laughed at is somebody was on here was arguing about we gave Argentina $23 billion, and I was like, it wasn't just a gift. We're getting beef exchange. Well, why don't we have our own beef? Because beef in America, the cost has gone through the roof. I mean, we're paying for burger what we used to pay for steaks, right? So we can bring in Argentinian beef, and that's a way that they can pay us back for the $23 billion. Because if we didn't do it, China would.
Okay, do you know why our beef is so high? There's 4 companies that basically do all of the meat packing. 2 of them are run by Brazil. And the 2 that do it control our beef industry. And it's not the price of the cow, it's the price of the slaughterhouse, because the Brazilians are manipulating it.
And I can believe that, I mean, right now there's a massive, Smithfield's actually moving one of their plants, and it's a multi-billion-dollar deal. But of course, they're moving it from a downtown point in that city. It's where I'm from, actually, where I moved here from. And this, Denny Sanford gave like $50 million to buy the area, and it would be a great area once they move that out of there. But now you've got people who are upset. But, they didn't want to let that out of the state just because of the economic impact of that plant, because Smithfield, as you know, is freaking huge, But they're owned by a Shanghai group, if I remember right.
That's the third one is owned by China. Hanson, I got a question for you. And for you guys, did you guys hear a few weeks ago, Trump said, hey, if you are in the Chinese government or military and you want to come talk to the CIA, we're like open for business? Did you guys hear that little blip?
Advertisement, specifically directed at
Right. Okay, so do you think there was a link between that and a week later, the purge?
Well,
do you think maybe there was a coup afoot and he caught wind of it?
Yeah, I don't think it's because of that. This is one thing link in the whole operation. I mean, this is. The thing is, it basically sows suspicion among the high officials in China and all that. So, I mean, I don't think that is the one that precipitated that. It must be just one of many big operations. So it doesn't. I mean, it's a convergence or confluence of many events, and then of course Xi Jinping is a very suspicious person, and he basically purged everybody in the military commission, the high military commission. So except one guy who's doing we call it political stuff. All the professional military men have been purged.
Me when the Iranian president Shahjan, and then suddenly when he came back, he got offed, which seemed highly suspicious to me. Like maybe we had met with him and had something going on. Like I talked to a friend of mine who's from Hong Kong, and we were theorizing that perhaps there was a coup afoot, and then he got wind of it, or it's like you're saying, he just got extremely paranoid and had been wanting to do it for a while and felt like he had an excuse.
Yeah, that could be. There's a lot of rumor about the rumors rolling around about coup attempts and everything, and counter coups and everything. So yeah, I mean, nobody knows exactly what's happening, but definitely Xi Jinping's position is weakening, and he's taking out all the whole military high commission.
Yeah, I keep praying for a revolution. Tiananmen Square Part 2, 2.0.
All the generals, not only the commissioner, all the generals, we've got 4-star generals, 3-star, 2 stars, and he took out like the whole high command
thanks for your opinion. I respect your opinion, and I'm going to ask a question, legal question about the ruling from the Supreme Court. But I don't think she's still.
Jenny from the block.
Yo, I ain't never heard him speak. He's like a ghost. What the fuck? Like a fucking phantom. That's crazy. Yo, J-Lo. Are you being held hostage? Why can't you speak freely?
Hello?
Huh?
I'm afraid my karma will go down for a terrible joke.
Not that. No, just say it.
No, I already did, and now I feel like bad about it. And it's not just because I'm.
About that.
This is the one where he's on a talk show and his daughter's sitting next to him, and they ask, "What do you have in common, Ivanka, with your dad?" She said, "Golf and something else." Then they asked Trump, what do you have in common? He goes, "Sex, don't be wrong."
Wait, what did you say? I remember that.
Yeah. He said, so they asked, "What do you guys have in common with one another?" That was Howard Stern was different. Howard Stern was talking about her body and how she was sexy piece of ass. This is when she was a kid. So they asked him, "Oh no, what do you have in common with your dad?" And she said, "Golf and something else." And they asked Trump, and Trump said, "Sex. If I said sex, that'd be awkward."
Wait, before we confirm it,
I don't know what that means.
wait, come on, folks.
Yeah, like she brought up one thing and then went to another.
That's what he said.
Confirm this is true. Before we confirm if he actually said this or not, do you guys think that's disgusting? Before we confirm it's true.
Yeah, we don't know what the context is. I'm gonna go check it out.
Yeah,
What's the context?
I think
no, I'm gonna say no.
that's all there is to it.
Because
If there's a context, then
there
I'd
was
like
an
to
if.
hear it. But if that's it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because the problem was she kind of hit with the bait and switch, right? So she provided like the scenario that we've already discussed.
Can you play that? Someone's got it.
Just hold on.
it was an awkward rebuttal.
No, so like she provided like the whole dating thing, like the View interview, right? So then when we start talking about that, she hit us with the bait and switch, and then brought something else. Come on, bro. And then brought something else up that we weren't even talking about. So now we have to kind of
give me
like,
instances.
This is cringe.
come on, lady.
This is
Come on, lady. She's the one. What do you mean cringe? She's the one who brought up the whole View interview in the first place.
No, I'm saying this. Wait. You're saying what?
I'm saying Ace brought up the interview.
Well, let me ask you something. How could that be contextualized in a way where it's not like as weird as it comes off?
Well, that's like, alright, so
This was a Wendy Williams show.
So you're talking about the switch?
You said you need context, right?
Alright, so yes, maybe you're not hearing me. So what I'm saying is,
No,
Ace,
loud and clear.
alright, so Ace brought up the dating one for the View. We all start talking about that.
I think someone else
And then
brought that
she,
up.
like,
What we're talking about.
hold on. No, we're not.
No, when someone brought up the View, I thought they meant this one of the View.
We're talking about the interview sequence.
This was. Sorry, this one was on the View. Sorry, this was on Wendy Williams. I thought it was a View.
Alright, so she mentioned the View. It's always she mentioned the Come on, bro. Yeah, so she mentioned the View.
tonality. Can we just hear it?
Yeah, she mentioned the view. She mentioned the dating. Now she's switching into something about sex.
Right.
And Wendy
Hold on.
Williams. Do we agree that that's what happened?
That's not.
Well, okay, what happened?
So, like, here's what happened, right?
Oh,
Yeah, what happened, brother? Let's see how good you can
Here's
try.
what happened. She brought up sex. I interjected on dating. Like, who would you date that you wouldn't have sex with, right? That's how we started talking about the interview where he mentioned dating. But she was consistently emphasizing the sex time that she was referring to. Now taking place is instead of addressing right. So like instead of addressing the fact that he said he has sex in common with his daughter, you want to quibble about which talk show he said it on.
Don't just keep it on the time.
Hold on. Does it matter the way in which this occurred? Can we just look at what you said, and then you can then give us thoughts? Because you said there's context to what he says.
Hold on.
You still trying to defend him.
And I'm outright saying no.
Hey, all I'm saying is we are having a recollection session here. Somebody's tracking a
We're not having a recollection session. We're not.
Just hold on, bro. Somebody's tracking has been questioned. And I'm
No,
just
we're
wondering
talking about how egregious he is. I'm adding
bro.
examples.
Hey, when I told you that we're doing something here, obviously you're not a part of that.
Everyone's saying that they're not doing this.
Now he's going to take the
Okay, but I'm participating too, so like we are.
What the
He's
fuck
trying to
do you
fight
think we're
about
running away from?
Okay, can somebody just read?
You're talking about something that's irrelevant. Can we get
No. What Louis doing the experiment?
This nigga Luca thinks that he's tracking well. I'm pointing out that this nigga's not tracking well.
Oh my god. You're running away. Why? From what?
Why can't I just kill this nigga first before I kill you, bro?
Because we're gonna come back and we're never gonna come back to the point. We're gonna jump to the next point. That's what you do. It's your style.
Bro, if I'm acknowledging that both points
Can we please confirm if it was said or
come
not?
on, bro.
Can we first confirm if it was said or not and the context?
Yeah. Let's just go back to the context because this will be like, bro. They can't
Can you
parse.
play 8? Or did you want?
Somebody
Wait, hold on.
Who said what when?
Because that's important, and Louis just asked
Wait,
that.
I put the article in the chat. I can
I thought you was tracking. All right, hold on. I'm gonna go ahead. Bro, can I get my point? Thank you.
You good?
No. Okay, hold on. Nigga, what the fuck? Just chill, Luca. Just chill. Okay. No. All it was a sassy ass, awkward, white rebuttal janitor joke shit. So no, it's not fucking weird. Y'all act like y'all ain't never been around white people before.
They really have.
They really the fuck haven't. What world do y'all live in?
normalizing this behavior.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
What?
This is Kobe.
Y'all are trolling
It's
it,
Kobe.
right?
Well, right now,
It's
Dawn
not
is
trolling.
saying
A lot of
that
people. I'm
This is
Guys,
Kobe.
I'm really
A
worried.
lot of people live in ghettos, bro. What do you think?
can I read it?
That's what I'm starting to think, bro.
Can I read it?
No, don't read it. Play it. We need to hear the tone. We need to hear inflections and shit.
Thank you. We need to hear the
Yes, we need to hear the tone because tone is going to give context.
What does an inflection do to that?
Everything.
Nobody knows.
It makes an inference towards it being a joke
Somebody
or a sassy and it attaches a mood to it.
About
Stop. Weird people. I know it's weird. I'm not denying that it is.
Ace don't know shit, man. She ain't know anything, bro.
All
What you
white
talking about?
people are
She's
weird.
from Pakistan,
To
bro.
me.
I'm off of Pakistan, little bitch.
Oh, shit. Well, she ain't from Pakistan.
This interview was in 2013,
Not there.
13 years
Not
ago.
there either. What the fuck?
She's 27 years old, right?
She's from Rochester. Anyway, look.
What? No,
All I'm saying is,
So this is 11 years later. She's 35 years old at the time. Is that accurate? She's not a little girl, right, Ace?
Listen. So, what do you mean? This is somehow better?
Just hold on. Why you made a claim that she was a little
He
girl?
made comments when she was a little girl. There's multiple comments.
You made it.
No, I'm saying we were talking about different things.
Hold on.
We were talking about different things.
Hey, you made a claim.
He made comments about her when she was a little girl.
Fucking right. You make a claim this is how it goes. Is she 35 at the motherfucking
I
time
don't
or
know
not?
how old she is right now. I don't fucking
Well,
know.
find out.
But she is his daughter.
No.
Come on, hold on.
Did she make the claim that this bolstered the claim that he's a pedophile? Did she make that claim?
No, she made it.
What are we talking about?
Hold on. She made a claim about the
more
specific interview.
making it more
Shut the
complex.
fuck up, bro. Why don't you allow Ace to speak, bro? Why don't you just shut the fuck up and let Ace speak?
Bro,
So when Ace
She's running away.
when Ace brought up this specific interview, she mentioned Ivanka Trump is there and that
It's his
she
daughter.
was a kid.
No,
I never recall calling
you're
her a
a
kid.
puppet.
So now you never brought it that she was a
No, I
kid.
said that she.
No, she
that was
didn't.
his
Why are you
daughter.
No, she didn't.
We talked about we talked about
You're a liar,
Trump.
bro.
She said she was a little girl
You're just a liar, bro.
sitting next to him. A little girl sitting next to him.
That's what the
She
fuck
fucking
she said,
did.
bro. That's what the fuck she said.
We talked about different.
She wasn't a little girl in the fucking View interview either.
Wait, who said little girl? You're a fucking liar, bro.
What the fuck, bro? As soon as
No, I'm a fucking liar.
bro. As soon as this nigga Luca
You're
said,
fucking
I
protecting
remember
what
that.
and for what?
Hey, can you?
Who are you protecting? You're calling me a fucking liar. Who the fuck are you protecting?
So
Okay,
when
hold
she
on.
was,
Why are you calling people liars?
That was a
hey,
that
can you
was
hold on
a
for a
time.
second?
That was a time.
No one's fucking lying.
Hey,
You
Dom,
fucking said that.
Can you hold on for a
Okay,
second?
we talk over
Hey,
each
hey,
other.
can we
So
do
we're
this?
talking.
Horrible.
Hold on.
No, you can just
The
hold on
time
for
that
a
he
second.
said something sexual about his daughter wasn't here.
Hold on.
Here you go.
Just
I'll
real
give you
quick.
that article. There you go.
So when you were providing this is when Lucas started to chime in. Oh, I remember that. Fuck, nigga, can you hold on, bro?
Can we just?
Can you hold on, bro? Like, I'm pointing out the point in time when she mentioned that Ivanka Trump was sitting right by him and she was a little girl. This is when this nigga Luca was like, oh, shit, I do remember this. She's right.
Say little girl.
Fuck, nigga. She just acknowledged that she fucking
Okay,
did.
hold on
She
for
was
a
talking
second.
about
Hold on.
something
We
different.
talked about various. Is it the one that with the little girl? That's when he was with Marla Maples, and he talked about.
Oh, so she did
That's when she was
mention
1
that.
year
You
old.
fucking
That was
dumbass.
when she was,
Not
no. That I never mentioned it, but there is an instance that you want to bring up.
Clearly not.
So she,
That's not what I mentioned, bro. I can give you an instance if you really want to
Bro,
use it.
you gotta chill, bro. You gotta chill.
if she
No,
brought up the
no,
first
no, no,
interview,
no.
It's clearly not the interview.
Good night, my darling. Good night, my dear. Good night, sweet darling. Your dreams are near. Good